Greetings, everybody. Welcome. It's I, Rob from Saints Tower Games, and this is my episode, or the first episode of a 7-part episodic series called How to Run an Adventure Path. This will specifically be about Pathfinder adventure paths, but can also be applied to Dungeons and Dragons, as well as other systems out there. These are just some ideas and some concepts that I feel like people could keep in mind when they are going to start to run an adventure path, and as they do run one. So with that, I'm going to talk about the different episodes briefly. So this episode will be about knowledge. Episode 2 is going to be about session 0. Episode 3 is going to be improv. Episode 4 is balance. Episode 5 is foreshadowing. Episode 6 is burnout. And episode 7 is the BBEG, the big bad evil guy. So, without further ado, let's get into episode 1, knowing. Or as I like to call it, the 4 things you should know if you're going to run an adventure path. First thing you should know if you're going to run an adventure path is know your group and know what they want to actually play. I don't mean like what characters, I mean the kind of campaign or game that they want to play. You may be the DM and you may have this great idea that you want to set up this pirate campaign on the high seas and have ship combat and do all sorts of like pirating antics, and your party may not care one bit about wanting to do pirate stuff. You usually hear this a lot when you kind of talk about groups. You know, is it a role play heavy? Is it a combat heavy situation? That's also one thing to look at as well. If the group is really big into role play, into social encounters, you want to play maybe one that has more of that intrigue and social deduction type aspects to it. You know, kind of like city scenarios where they have to, you know, smooth with some of the elites in a city, or maybe they may get bored trying to play in like a dungeon crawl, mega dungeon type adventure. Or the group may just want to be they like the hack and slash style. They like the ability to just kill a bunch of things, get loot, get experience, and have fun that way. Know what your group wants and work with them. You know, come down, narrow maybe down to 2-3 ideas and present it to them as ideas and go, hey guys, these are some ideas I had for the next campaign that we play. Let me know what you guys think, and eventually you guys may settle on one campaign. Remember, it is all about everybody having fun at the table, not just you, not just them. Okay? The next part is knowing the story. What I mean by knowing the story is, and I'm going to use Paizo as an example for Pathfinder. Most campaigns are either 6 books or 3 books. Flip through the books and get a general idea of the story. You don't need to know every encounter, you don't need to know every single detail, but know the general progression of the adventure. Just so you have a general idea of, how things are supposed to go, and it can just help you with knowing how to plan stuff, how to improv later if we talk about it in a future episode. If your party goes off rails, you can find a way to get them back onto the main story without feeling like you're lost. You kind of know what the big plot hooks are, what NPCs are important, which NPCs aren't important. If you know your group, you may know like what parts they may not like and maybe adjust it in the future. There is foreshadowing, which, as we talked about, is a separate episode, and that one will talk about kind of touch base on this as well, with if an NPC shows up in book 1, they may come back in book 3 and book 4 as an important character. So maybe you want to make sure, you put some focus on that character so the big reveal actually is impactful. But again, more of that on episode 5, foreshadowing. The next thing to know is know the themes for your game. And what I mean by this is not like pirates or adventure. Know kind of what things may happen in the campaign, and especially if some of them are possibly taboo or possibly on the dangerous side. If you're playing a horror campaign, if there's some heavy gore, if there's a lot of sexual contact or innuendos, if there's psychological abuse, slavery, all the different things, make sure you know about it firsthand. 1, so you can let your party know about it, and 2, so if the party goes, I'm not comfortable with this, ahead of time, you can at least know ahead of time, so that you can readjust the encounter, readjust the book situation, so that it doesn't show up. You don't want to ever play a situation where the party feels uncomfortable about what's going on. That you can do some situations that have like a slight uncomfortableness, like if the villain's supposed to be vile, but not like where it really impacts the actual player that much. Everybody has different backgrounds, have different experiences. Things may hit someone differently that you may think isn't a big deal, but to someone else is a pretty big deal. So you don't want to do something that could really jeopardize their fun at the table. So make sure you know these themes, and once you know them, talk with them to the group. A lot of times you may see this as like the X card. It's talked about a bit in these games. Having that card where a player can just like show it and be like, I don't like this scene. Let's fade to black. Let's get it done with. So these kind of things. Make sure you know these ideas beforehand, so they don't. It's like 2 days before the session, you realize this is something big is coming up. You haven't talked to the group about it, and you have no backup plan in case they go, you know what, this isn't for me. So make sure you know those. And the last thing of the 4 things that I think you should know is know the commitment required. If you're playing a full-scale campaign, and unless you guys are like super meta, super gamers who play 6-8 hour sessions every week, something like that. If you're playing a normal, let's say, 2 to 4, 2 to 5 hours, if you're maybe that extreme, weekly kind of deal, even if you play bi-weekly, it's gonna be a while. Like the campaign to go from beginning to end is gonna at least be over a year, most likely. And I know people have, real life commitments, schedule changes, and all that. That's gonna happen. That you can't change that. But if someone signs up for a game on a Wednesday, and every other Wednesday they have something else that they have to do, and they end up missing like a third of the sessions because of this, or maybe they didn't really plan accordingly, or maybe they I can play, but I can only do like a month, and then I have to go back to school. Well, okay, you could maybe do a little bit, but don't bank on them being like a main character if they're gonna leave that quickly. Campaigns take a while. Like I said, Pathfinder Adventure Paths are 6 books. The ones they're making now are full level 1 to level 20. So you're looking at a commitment from everybody. And it's almost like a agreement you guys came together for this journey to try and stick it out and go to the end. And yes, you can, I mean, there are many stories out there of campaigns that have fallen apart halfway through, almost near the end. You know, someone moves, some major life event happens to them, and next thing you know, they're gone for 3 months, and then things just start breaking apart all over. It's gonna happen. That you can't. In most cases, you can't anticipate that. But for the most part, the short-term kind of stuff, you should at least know if you're doing a full-length campaign, it's not a one-shot. It's not on 1-2 episodes and you're done. It's get ready. Like I said, this is a journey that everybody at the table is going to be going on together. So yeah, these are 4 things that I believe, or kind of things you should know about running an adventure path before you even get to the table about it. This has nothing to do with the actual, like what game you're running, the actual mechanics of the game. These are just things that you should know, and some of them convey to your players or convey to your DM that you should make sure everybody at the table understands what's going on. So, catch us next time on the second episode of How to Run an Adventure Path, where we discuss Session 0, the key session to kind of set up a campaign. Thank you guys for watching.